I just got to my booth and I printed out a test picture, and I look obviously a little too purple. So on the back of my test quality page, I'm going to look and see what I'm closest next to, and in the hue column, as I compare these, I'm a little too purple, so it looks to me like my hue settings are a little too high. And with my picture starting out a little too purple, I'm going to start out with HCS. I'm going to start out with Hue. Focus looks to be pretty good. Hard to tell whether I'm too light or too dark. I'm just going to start with the Hue and bring my Hue down until I start looking like I'm supposed to. I brought my Hue down about 15 clicks. It looked to be on 16. I brought it down to 1. Different units will vary. So I'm looking a little bit dark right now, so I'm going to go and see if I can start with the contrast. I'm looking a little dark, I'm looking a little washed out. So to remedy the washed outness, I'm going to bring my contrast up. I'm in the habit when I mess with any of the settings, I kind of go a little bit too in one direction until I start looking okay. I pass what I think looks okay, and then I kind of bring it back. Maybe go back a few and it starts to look okay. Looking a little bit too bright, still a little washed out. Contrast seems to be okay, so I'm going to go over the brightness. See if I can bring that down a little bit. Again, you want to keep brightness and contrast fairly close to each other. If you have your contrast a lot lower than your brightness, what's going to happen is you're going to look washed out. So keep them within a few clicks of each other. This seems to be looking okay. Well, I started with Hue. Got myself to where I was looking peachy. Well, with the contrast and the brightness. Now I'm gonna hit the saturation. I'm gonna make note that I'm starting on 32. I'm gonna bring it up a few clicks. Obviously too far. I'm gonna bring it back down. Again, it helps to go a little bit past your ideal setting when you think you figured out what it is. Go a few clicks past until you start looking not so good, and then you can tell that you're a little too orange in the case of saturation, and you can bring it back. That'll help figure out what it needs to be. I look pretty good right there, so I'm going to press 3 to save, and I'm going to print out my test picture. And it's always important to print out a test picture after each time. Your picture is lots of times going to look a little bit different on the screen than it does on your printout. going to give that a chance to print out, and we're going to take a look at it and see how it looks. Well, I just printed out my test picture. Seems to look pretty good. Still look a tad bit dark. So I'm going to start with my contrast. I'm going to bring my contrast up too, and I'm going to bring my brightness up too. Don't really want the hot spots on my face. Minor hot spots are acceptable. Don't want to start getting to where we're washed out like this. This probably isn't going to print out very good, so I'm going to back it off a little bit. I brought my contrast up too. I'm going to bring my brightness up 2 more clicks, so altogether 4. I think that looks pretty good right there. So once again, I'm going to do a test printout because that always tells the tale. Alright, so now we're going to print out our test picture and see what that looks like and compare them to the previous 2 pictures, and also compare it to my sheet on the back of the target, on the back of the test page. Look at it on the back of the test page and see if I'm in the target good quality section, see how close I am to that. By the look of these previous 2 printouts, I'm definitely on my way. So let's print this out and see what it looks like. Well, I just printed out my 3rd test picture. I'm still looking a little bit dark. It's not much better than the 2nd test picture. I've definitely eliminated the purple out of there. So what I'm going to do is I've opened up my iris a little bit. It's open all the way right now. I'm just going to back my contrast and brightness up a little bit because my whole face seems to be a hot spot. I want my face to be bright. I want it to be in focus, but I don't want it to be washed out in one giant hot spot. This looks a little bit better on the screen. Once again, though, I'm going to print out a test picture and see what it looks like and compare them to the previous 3, and then also compare it to the back of my test page and see if it's in the target good quality section or close to. So, throw a test page. For me to save and reboot back into the event cycle. I'm looking a little washed out on the screen. Maybe not so much washed out, but I'm looking like there's a little bit too much of a hot spot there, but let's print it out and see what it looks like. They look okay on the paper. So I just printed out my fourth picture. Regardless of me looking a little bit bright on the screen, the picture printed out very well. I checked my quality setting. Everything looks to be okay. I'm right where I want to be with in the ideal quality section on the back of the test page. So I'm happy with this, and it's acceptable.